Whoa. This is off. What is going on? Curvature of the earth has shifted. Let me see if I can get this balanced. We need balance. Oh yeah, that's the problem right there. 1 second. Please bear with me. If you are not bearing, then, well, what is wrong with you? I think that is good enough. I am Ray, and if you're watching this, it means you're going to rule the world. Congratulations. Because today we're going to go over some secret knowledge. You like knowledge? You see, there's a reason that there's been secret societies since the beginning of time, keeping knowledge from the public. And now I have ruined all of their plans. So pay attention, because this information has not been available to normal human beings like us ever. I mean, maybe like the past 100 years. Have you been living under a rock? Not the Rock Dwayne, but a rock. Look, I don't judge, okay? We all like Samoans once in a while. You like my balls? My orbs to be pondered. Sorry, we're a little unhinged today. You see, there's two kinds of spiritual seekers, right? Let's split them up into two categories. Over here, let's call it the low spiritual path and the high spiritual path. So over here is stuff like the esoteric. You know, like the secret teachings of the world. What is his name? Manny P. Hall? I don't know if he... Stuff like manifestation. What else is there? You know, tarot cards, astrology, all that jazz. All the things that are kind of spiritual and different and esoteric, but don't, you know, really set you free. It's kind of just fun stuff to play with. But over here is the freedom side. Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It's awakening to your God nature. Now, did you know that you were God? Probably not. And it's okay if you don't believe it. But just so you know, there's a whole, you know, at least like 1 million people on the earth who are on this path, who know what it's all about, and who have actually completed the path and are free, and who constantly abide in the presence of God. Hello. It's funny, I was just thinking about, I was listening to a talk by Sarva Priyananda Swami, who is a Hindu monk. And he's an Advaita Vedantin monk, which is enlightenment, okay? And he was saying, I forgot what story it was, I wish I could remember this, but he was saying like two people were discussing out loud the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, like the Ashtavraka Gita, which is like the highest of the high. And when these monks were talking out loud, a senior monk came and say, stop talking about this stuff out loud. There's people walking by. And the point is that when you speak about those teachings, for people who are very religious or very attached to their beliefs, it's not the best thing for them to know that stuff, because it will dissolve their illusions. But sometimes those illusions are the only thing keeping us afloat. Same thing over here. This is where the secret societies have been. We can't let the peasants know about this knowledge, because what if they take control of the world, and then we won't be in control. Even Jesus talked in parables because normal human beings couldn't understand if he was just straight up about it. Now, luckily today in modern society, we can understand. And even if we don't understand it experientially, we can understand it intellectually. Much, much different place than they were living thousands of years ago, even 100 years ago. The point is, keep it a secret, for Christ's sake. There's a reason that they would do this. Because the human mind often is not prepared to handle the truth. And so, the truth handles you. So, you got to be ready for it. Now, one kind of funny thing I've been thinking about lately is in Advaita Vedanta, they talk about not having free will, because it's just God that's doing everything. And there's a lot of truth to this. But I don't think the Hindu monks anticipated Western minds taking this philosophy and using it for their own selfish gains. So for example, when you go down the path of enlightenment, really what you're doing is you're just trying to find God. You're just trying to be free from suffering, from misery, so that you can bask in the everlasting peace. And you're not so concerned with the world, like how this side is concerned with. Because, well, I mean, what is the whole purpose of manifestation? Is manifestation designed to get you to heaven? No. It's designed to make your earthly life better. Or the esoteric knowledge. I mean, what is the point of it? I mean, it's cool to learn and stuff like that, but what is the point of it? Well, the point of it is to help your earthly life in some form or another. But a whole new group of individuals have emerged on the planet. And you will see, mark my words, let's timestamp this video. Ray said it. He did. What day is it today? It's October 2nd, 9:24 a.m., Thursday, 2025. There will be a new renaissance in the world, which will allow for the flourishing of new art, new music, new technology, new inventions, a whole new world. Because of this, now there's a lot of dangers as well, but we're not going to get into that yet. The point is, you want to be a part of this new world because it's going to be the best time. I mean, I don't exactly know when it's going to happen, if it's not already happening, but it often takes some time for these teachings to resonate in the human mind, in the human collective. And every decade, we're just going to become more and more aware. And you will see more and more signs and wonders of the true power of human nature. That of which we have no idea. Like, when I talk to normal human people, as if I'm not also a normal human person. I am a reptilian. Actually, that's not true. Every single human being's understanding of the nature of reality is, well, it's normal. I mean, some people are a little crazy, but for the most part, most people see the world, I won't even say the same. It's like most people are living from their senses. They believe the real world is the world that they perceive to be true. So for example, if I look at my world and I'm broke, well, I perceive that that's the truth about me. And you can see how every single human being, if you ever ask them, they would say the same thing. Yes, this is the evidence before me, so therefore that is what I believe to be true. That mentality is so ingrained in us as a human species, but a whole new way of living is emerging. A whole new way of thinking, of perceiving the world, that of which we have never experienced before. You see, over here on this side of the, planet. On this side of the planet, the enlightenment. Check out my other channel. Talk more about this. What enlightenment is, it's the realization that only God exists, and we as separate forms do not exist. Did I even turn on the... Okay. Let me get my Rudraksha. Do you like my beads? Enlightenment is the realization that only God exists, and you are that. That is your true nature. And that us living in these separate forms are an illusion. And through perceiving reality, through the lens of separation, we are all living in an illusion, a dream, that we believe is the real world. And everyone's stuck in this dream, trying to figure it all out, but really just kind of suffering. And so enlightenment is the process of embarking on the spiritual journey, seeing through the illusions. And because the world, or the way we see the world, is a dream, then we awaken, and we awaken from the illusion, from the dream, to see the true nature of reality, that is, everything is God, there is no separation, we as individual separate forms do not exist. Now, here is the deal, and this is why I don't think the Hindu monks anticipated this. Once you tap into your God power, through God realization, well, you still have a mind that can direct that God power any which way you want. So for the Enlightenment people, they don't care about the world, so they never even considered using that God power. In fact, Patanjali said, hey, you're probably going to get some spiritual powers, some superpowers on this journey, and you better be careful, because if you allow them to, get to your head, they're going to probably destroy you. And they're going to stagnate your spiritual journey. So, for example, some of the powers that Patanjali said by taking the path of yoga, which is union with God. Yoga, if you didn't know, is the science of God realization. Why is it the science? Because it's a step-by-step formula. It has nothing to do with faith or belief in anything. It's not even a religion. Like Buddhism. Buddhism is not a religion. It's a philosophy. It's a step-by-step system that says, hey, if you do these steps, you will get this result. And that's the beautiful thing about Eastern philosophy. It has nothing to do with belief and faith. At least in these circumstances. And so some of the powers that Patanjali said, he said, well, if you do this, you'll be able to walk on water. If you do that, you'll be able to make yourself really small or really big. I've never seen anyone do that, so I don't know. You'll be able to teleport, be in two places at once, levitate, be able to control the elements, earth, water, fire, air. You will be able to heal people instantly. You'll be able to read people's minds and understand their whole life history just by looking at them, being in their presence. And you might say, well, this is a lot of crazy stuff, but at the same time, there are a lot of stories that will reaffirm this. Like, for example, Ram Dass. Ram Dass was a Harvard professor and Jewish. So he's about as earthly as you can get. As stuck in the societal matrix as you can get. But then he started experimenting with some psychedelics, realized that everything he knew was a lie, and started seeking out that truth. He got a taste of it through psychedelics. A taste that there was something more going on here. So he went to India. And he met Neem Karoli Baba. And what changed everything for him was that the night before he met Neem Karoli, he was looking out at the stars and thinking about his mom, who had died from spleen surgery. And he never told anyone on this trip. Mind you, Ram Dass is an American in India, traveling through the world with his friend that he met. So like a day after he met Neem Karoli Baba, they were talking, and Neem Karoli said, "You were thinking about your mother last night. She died." Then he said the word spleen. And then Ram Dass said, well, at that moment, a million things started going through my mind about, is this a CIA setup? Have I been tricked? Trying to rationalize all the different possibilities of how he could possibly know that information. Because it was in his mind, he never shared it with anyone. And eventually, because his mind couldn't figure it out, it gave up and surrendered and realized that, well, the power of Neem Karoli Baba was true. And that is when he started serving the master, dedicating himself to, being with him. And again, in the beginning, when he first met him, Ram Dass was like, why is everyone touching his feet? Hey, we don't do that over here in America. Why are you guys all being weird? And then in a few days, complete opposite. He couldn't help but touch his feet. So it's not like Ram Dass was some guy who was already crazy, already believing in all this spiritual stuff. He was the exact opposite. He was the most normal person who awakened and then became crazy. The point is, there are many cases, maybe not many, but a few cases of beings throughout history who have presented these powers to the world, like Jesus. And people think, it's just all metaphors, like turning water into wine. But through this understanding, logically and rationally, from this framework, these powers make sense. Because think about it. Once you realize your true nature as God in the formless, experiencing God in form, well, God in the formless has complete dominion over nature, the universe, everything. And I forget if it was Yogananda or Vivekananda, one of them said, and continued to say over and over again, you will master the universe. Or let's say you have dominion over nature. Same thing that Jesus told someone in the Gospel of Thomas. He said, first you will be disturbed, And then you'll be like in awe. And then you'll rule over everyone. I want to be accurate. So it's saying 2 of the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, "Let him who seeks continue to seek until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished. And he will rule over the all." Now that's pretty powerful stuff. Now, whether or not you believe that was actually Jesus talking about, it doesn't matter, because whoever said it obviously knows some stuff. And in fact, when I read the Gospel of Thomas, I feel like it's more Jesus than I've ever heard. This is what he was talking about. In the beginning, you will be troubled, because everything you've known has been a lie. It's been an illusion. Haven't you watched The Matrix? Yeah, I think it came out in like 99. What are you doing? And then you'll be in awe. You'll be astonished at the presence of this truth, that God is everywhere, that God is everything. And you will be unable to not see it. I don't think, double negative. You will see God everywhere. And once you see God everywhere, you will become one with God, and therefore you will rule over everything. Just as Jesus did. Jesus, not even death had any power. Because once you realize that you are the life, what power does death have over the life? So too, once you realize that you are the light, what power does the darkness have in the presence of the light? No power. So you can see there's 3 different kinds of people who get into spirituality. They're the people who want freedom and who go this way, toward heaven, toward the spiritual planes, away from the earthly existence. And then there are people who dive deeper into the earthly existence, use spirituality for their own kind of selfish gain. But then there's the new people, new individuals on the planet, who recognize that the highest spirituality is in integrating both. Because what happens is that when you rise toward the heavens, and then you return, you don't return as a man or a woman. You don't return as a human being. You may return as an angel. Whereas everyone else, they're living like human beings. They're living from this assumption that, yes, I am a little monkey. This is my monkey stuff. Where are my bananas? I lost my bananas. And I'll give you an example from my own life. So before awakening, life was just suffering all the time. But eventually, what happened was that there was less of a struggle and less of a struggle, less problems, until there's no problems at all. Even though on the surface level, my life is just the same as everyone else, my subjective experience of reality is completely different. So what is a problem for one person is no problem. Effortless success, effortlessly walking through life with grace, no matter what happens. Which means that any time that I get into a situation, I am the most competent person. Effortlessly. Whereas everyone else is trying really hard to, maintain their life, I do it with ease. Because there is no me getting in the way, trying to do things. There is only life expressing itself. But here's the deal. Just because you become awakened doesn't mean your mind automatically just blows up and disappears. It means you stop identifying with your mind. You stop identifying with your ego and your body. Because if you're identified with your body, you are going to get pulled around your whole life by your instincts, by your emotions, and by your thoughts. And that is everyone. That's how everyone is living, from the mind, body, identified state. So we really believe I really am a little human monkey. And we believe that's the truth because that is what the evidence presents itself as. But just as when you walk outside and the earth appears flat, it's not. Just because things appear to be a certain way doesn't mean they are. Just because we appear to be human monkeys doesn't mean we are. It's just one tiny aspect of ourselves that we identify with. And because it's such a limited state of consciousness, we have no freed up energy to express ourselves fully. Because the body is focused on survival, fear, worry, lack and scarcity. And if you're allowing these things to pull you around, that is what you will experience. Because with your creative God power, that is what you're doing. Let me explain that a little bit. Here's one way to look at it. In the source of you, as Jesus said, the kingdom of God is in you. Have you ever looked? I'm disappointed. Because that is a pretty big deal, is it not? I mean, the kingdom of everything is in you, makes you wonder. God is the innermost core of our being, the source of everything. Now here's the deal. Our mind is a tool that directs this God power. So whatever you focus on, that is what you're giving your God power to. But if you don't know your power, you have no power. And the price of ignorance is slavery and death. And just look at the people around you, my friend. How are they living? Even the people who are rich, how are they living? They're all beggars. All of them, because they think that what they have is of what is value. I don't think I said that right. Everything in this world is dust. From dust it came, from dust it will return. That is why Jesus said, seek first the kingdom, and then everything else, go about that. Don't try to muck about in the world because there's nothing there. It's empty. That's the true nature of reality. It's dust. But think about, people with money. Money is the most important thing. I gotta have it. I gotta have it to survive. I need to eat my grapes. I need to buy some grapes. I'm out of grapes. And bananas. First of all, money is a made-up construct, right? It's literally just numbers. And you give those numbers meaning and value. That's all it is. Because money is not backed by anything. But that's beside the point, because even if money was backed by gold or whatever, it's still just dust. All the gold in the world is dust. It's nothing. Meaningless. You can have big piles of gold. It's not going to make you happy. Why is this? It's because everything in the world is temporary and changing. It's all going to fall away. Everything that you do in this life will come and go. But what is within you is the eternal. And what is eternal does not come and go. Do not store your treasures where moths come and eat them, and thieves. But store your treasures in heaven. Because in heaven is the eternal. So whatever you do on this side, whatever your spiritual growth in this life, you will take with you after you die. And everything on this side will be gone forever, for all eternity. And that's fine. Because what is true never dies, and what is untrue was never real. We just believed it to be real. Like, for example, if you take a gold bar, you take some gold, and you melt the gold bar down into a bracelet, and then you melt the bracelet and turn it into a necklace, and you melt the necklace, you turn it into a ring. You can say, okay, well, there's a necklace, there's a ring, and there's a bracelet. But what is the truth? The truth is that there was only ever one gold, temporarily manifesting in these different forms. And that is life. We identify with the forms. So when the forms change, we feel like, well, we change. The body changes, the mind changes. But what is true never changes. And it is because we are attached to the changing forms that we suffer. Like if you are the bracelet, when the bracelet gets melted down, you feel like, oh, I'm gonna die. But there is no death. There is only change. And the reason that we believe in death is because we identify with the change, the changing forms. So when one form goes away and another one is made manifest, one dies, one is born. One dies, one is born. Life, death. But secretly, hidden behind all of it, is just the same one gold. It's just the same one God. Temporarily manifesting in these different forms that we call us. But in truth, it's just different clothes that we wear. When we die, it's just taking off one piece of clothing, put on another one. And think about what knowing this does to your psychology. You become fearless. Because what is there to fear in the presence of God? There's nothing. So you don't have the problems that other people have. Everyone's living from survival and lack and scarcity. Not you, because you see through the illusion. You realize that the kingdom of abundance is already freely given to you. Because it's already here, we're just not aware of it. The kingdom of God is everywhere, spread across the earth, but we do not have eyes to see. Now you have eyes, I hope. Eye surgery. Let me get those eyeballs. So here's the path. And it's as Jesus said. He said it thousands of years ago. Seek first the kingdom, and then everything will be added on to you. Now, think about it this way. You have a dream at night, and you're in the dream. But who are you? Because there's the little character you think is you in the dream, but there's also the dreamer. And everything contained within the dream, which is all part of the dreamer. It's all part of you in your mind, in your imagination. And that's the same thing that is true in the reality that we experience. You are the dreamer in which everything in existence manifests within you. And what enlightenment is, it's like lucid dreaming. It's realizing that you're in a dream and then realizing that you as the dreamer have the power to do anything because it's all you. That is why Jesus said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Was that an analogy or a metaphor? Most people probably thought it was, but I think he was being very literal. It's like one theory of the pyramids being built in the law of one. Now, you can take it with a grain of salt, right? But basically what they said was that light beings from another dimension came down and materialized the pyramids and made it look like humans were doing it. Now, whether or not that's true or not is one thing, but it alludes to the point that the beings with higher power, because in this human form we are very limited, but the beings that are in different dimensions that are more powerful have these powers to materialize things into thin air, from thin air. Again, Patanjali said, hey, you'll probably be able to do that if you do this right. And Neem Karoli Baba, Ram Dass, I think he manifested like some kind of trinket or something like that. You can look more into Ram Dass if you'd like. But the point is, there are many cases, many instances in which our current understanding of the world comes into question. These superior beings that don't seem to be human at all, who somehow have these powers to control reality and control nature. And people today, with our rational minds, think, oh, well, that's all just nonsense. But the rational people will probably destroy the planet because they're too stuck living from their senses. They have no idea the true nature of reality because they can't even for a moment fathom this kind of truth. They could not imagine that life could actually be like this, that beings actually have this God power. Ram Dass once said, you don't even know if the entire world is being controlled by some little old monk in a cave somewhere. Little old monk meditating, controlling the whole world, like Babaji or something like that, the eternal guru. The point is, if you want to be free and live any life you want, or should I say the best life for you, your highest potential, you want to tap into this God power because you will have the most freedom. And the more you're stuck on this side of the equation, the more you're wearing a big ball and chain around your ankle. Because, for example, if I want to start a business, well, some thoughts are going to come, well, what if I fail? What if it goes wrong? And then maybe I have a bad month. Oh, well, no, things aren't going well anymore. What had happened? What did I do wrong? But when you're immersed in God, you don't see the world. You don't see the problems. You don't see the struggles. At least you don't experience them. Even though on the outer side, everything is still the same. But your subjective understanding and the source from which you live your life is completely different from everyone else. And therefore, the effects of your life manifest in a certain way. Because your roots are rooted in God, your fruits are that of God. But if your roots are rooted in the world, you will only have worldly fruits that will soon rot away. But the fruits of God never rot. Eternal life. You eat a nice tasty apple, Well, it doesn't go away. And my advice to you is, well, what Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas. Seek until you find. Because I cannot personally just take you here, grab your butt, and pull you toward God. I can only illuminate the way, the path. But you have to walk it. And you have to want to walk it. Because if you don't have the desire, the gravity of the world will just pull you all over the place. And you will remain frustrated. Your energy will become corrupted by all of the changing experiences. But when you're immersed in God, your energy becomes pure. And it becomes more and more pure as you live. And therefore your energy is in alignment with abundance, with life, with all good things. Doesn't mean that sometimes bad things won't happen. It means that no matter what happens, you will flow through life with grace. And you can just call up God like a little child in a candy shop. Well, I guess you wouldn't be using a phone in that case. And just say, hey God, I want this, please. I want this candy. And God's probably going to say, well, not yet. Or, sure, you can have it. Or, no. Or, you enter into this dynamic play with God. Like how I live my life. On one level, I stand in my own authority as a divine creator. Let's say when I look at the world, from the world's perspective, I am the divine. Not that you have to look at me as the divine. I'm just saying, that's the mentality that I'm coming from. I understand the God power, that's how I live my life. But when I look at God, I'm just like a little baby. Know nothing, don't care about nothing. Because all of this is irrelevant. As I like to say, be prideful before the world. Stand in your own authority. Be as powerful as you can possibly be. But be humble before God. Have humility. Be open to the truth. Realize that you know nothing. And that's the paradox. But it's just you're standing in two different places. You don't want to be humble in the world. Because then the evil people are just going to bulldoze you. Because the evil people have no humility. So they don't care. They're just going to take what they want. And you're going to be, what do they call it? Collateral damage. And you see that happen all the time. And you don't want to be prideful with God because then you're just rebelling. And therefore you separate yourself from God and you cut yourself off from your blessings. It's got to be flipped the other way around. And the more you immerse yourself in these teachings, the more familiar you get, and the more natural this way of looking at the world becomes. And so long as you have that humility before God, you will continuously be renewed over and over again. Because if you're prideful, you cannot be renewed because you're stuck. You're stuck in your own ways. You're stuck in your own attachments to what you think is true and what your beliefs and who you are. So long as you have that humility, you will be okay. You will save yourself from self-destruction. Because the problem is that there's going to be a lot of human beings moving forward who aren't humble before God and who just want to claim their power as gods upon the earth. And they will destroy themselves and possibly destroy the earth. Because pride comes before the fall. So don't fall into that trap. A lot of people in the world who come to this knowledge will reject God. Because once you realize that you are God, what is there to pray to? What is there to have a relationship with? But that is false. That is a mistake. And can destroy you. Because really what's happening is that the ego has come along and just is pretending that it's God. The ego comes in through the back door, takes control. So you're just thinking you're God, you're not actually immersed in God's presence. Those who are immersed in God, it has nothing to do with philosophy, concepts, thinking at all, speaking at all. God can only be known in silence. So the more you find yourself running around the world telling yourself and telling everyone else, I'm God, the more you know you're just being run by the ego. Stop it. And you know you're on the right path when you stay silent. You stop talking. And you just be. Again, we have kept knowledge secret from the world because people are unworthy of hearing it. Not because, well, we just want to control everything and everyone else is going to be our slave. although some people are like that, it's because people cannot handle the truth. For the exact reason, as I just mentioned. The ego comes along, claims it's God, ruins its life, ruins the host. Like if you take psychedelics and you realize your God nature, and then you come back to ego land, now you're telling everyone, hey guys, I'm the second coming of Christ. Look at me. And everyone's looking at you like, yeah, buddy. Throw you in a mental hospital. Don't get caught up in the philosophy. Don't get caught up in all the ideas and concepts. Let your presence be the proof. Let your results be the proof, not your words. Because the more you speak, the more you probably don't know what you're talking about. As it said, those who speak do not know, and those who know do not speak. And just destroyed my credibility. But just keep searching. And you will find if you are honest enough. And if you can not be playing this game with life where it's like, okay, well, if I find my God power, then I can do whatever I want. I can have all the power in the world. I can have all the money in the world. You realize, fundamentally, that this stuff doesn't even matter. It's all just beside the point. Doesn't mean you can't have it. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. You just have to see life for what it is. Everything in the world is changing. It's all going to go away. There will be no lasting satisfaction. So by the time you awaken to your God nature, you don't even care about being the most powerful person on the planet. But you will be able to create a beautiful life for yourself. And if you really want to be the most powerful version of you, then you can do that if you feel that you are called to. You will have your own unique journey. Just be aware of the potential pitfalls that you will experience on this path. And so long as you have that humility, as long as you're open to change, you will be okay. Because if you can pray to God and say, hey God, I don't know, help me, for God's sake. Help me learn how to live. God will always protect you. And you will always have grace. But if you turn your attention away from God toward the world and you don't think about God, well, you could easily be destroyed by anything. You can easily ruin your life. So when you awaken to your God nature, don't abandon God. So one thing that I fell into after learning about these teachings is that I stopped praying for like a week or something like that. Until I heard the teacher, Swami Sarvapriyananda, say, yeah, this happens to people when they learn about this stuff. But it's a mistake. You still want to live as though you're separate from God so that you can have a relationship with God. A relationship with the ultimate. You don't want to be so obsessed with this idea that I am God that you forget about the ultimate. Because no matter who you are, you may be God, but you're still just a fragment. Like if God was a great ocean, and I took a coffee cup, took a scoop of that water, that's you. Your nature and God's nature are one. But that doesn't mean that you are the whole ocean. It means that you are the ocean in a drop. So, be very careful about putting too much dip on your chip. Getting too big for your britches. Because God will certainly humble you. If you think that, oh, well, look at me, I'm the best. God will wash you away as if you were nothing. And so where is your power now? That is why we have to be humble. Because at any moment, God can just take everything away from us. And at any moment, God could give us the whole world. And we have to realize that without God, we are nothing. Because God is life itself. God is consciousness. And without life, without consciousness, we are literally nothing. Deep sleep. Have you ever heard of it? The lack of consciousness is the lack of experience. But as long as you can be humble, God will take care of you and guide you through this whole process. Trust your own inner guidance and follow the path of meaning. Follow the teachings that call out to you and grab your interest, because that is God leading you back to the truth. And once you find the truth, you will be disturbed, and then you will be astonished, and then you will reign over all. Master of the universe. Congratulations. I am Ray, and if you find yourself struggling to live... These robots. Oh, I'm gonna park right outside. I am Ray, and if you find yourself struggling to live in abundance, check this out. Link in the description. Stop struggling in survival mode. You're not a beggar, you are royalty. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be